Ladies and gentlemen, Raiders head coach Pierce gets real about the quarterback situation. Plus, we learn more about Davis's commitment to Pierce or lack thereof. But first, did the Raiders actually hire Ochocinco? You had Chad Ochocinco, the former Bengals wide receiver, posting on social media, "I'm officially a member of the Raiders coaching staff," and he's hanging out with Antonio Pierce. Keep in mind, these guys are out there in Las Vegas. The Super Bowl is being hosted in Las Vegas, so you got a lot of former players, you got a lot of analysts, media guys, coaches, all fraternizing and talking, and it seems like maybe they had some fun. I don't see any wine on the table. Seems like they're sober here, drinking some water, making some things happen. Is it just a joke? He doubled down on it on social media, texting with somebody. "She didn't believe I got hired." Seems like he told a woman, "I'm getting hired as a Raiders head coach," and she put LOL hush like she's not taking him seriously, and he decided to go on a rant. "You don't believe in me and my dreams, my aspirations to be a leader of young men at the highest level. I'll get you another room to stay in while in Las Vegas." Is this all a joke? Is it too hilarious? Well, Antonio Pierce also chimed in at midnight, 12:20 a.m. with Ochocinco. I'm sure these guys were completely sober. He retweeted Chad Johnson saying, "Taking over the NFL with former players like 85, coaching up 17. Ochocinco, will he be coaching up Davante Adams?" Remember in August in 2022, Davante Adams had to call out Ochocinco. Ochocinco posted a video of Davante Adams going up against Nate Hobbs in practice, praising Davante Adams, but it was kind of embarrassing for Hobbs there. You're showing him lose a rep, and Davante Adams called out Ochocinco for posting this, saying this was supposed to be strictly for Chad, given he asked for teach tape. He struggled to contain his enthusiasm, which is why this clip is on social media. "Never want to put my teammates out there like that. Nate is one of the best young DBs I've been around." So hopefully Ochocinco, if he really is joining the Raiders coaching staff, could contain himself and not leak any video, especially since the former wide receiver will likely be a wide receiver coach. The reason why this is likely not a joke and can really be happening right now, Chad Ochocinco joining the Raiders coaching staff, this is according to SteelersDepot.com, where they note the fact that Chad Johnson's son, Chad Jr., is a wide receiver at Arizona State, and Pierce, while he was part of the Arizona State coaching staff, Ochocinco's son joined the program in 2020, and Pierce was a recruiting coordinator around that time. And also, Hugh Jackson is rumored to join the offensive staff of the Raiders, and Marvin Lewis is currently assistant head coach of the Raiders. These two guys have a deep connection with Chad Ochocinco. Ochocinco used to call them in the middle of the night.
Do I remember it?
Hey, you know I used to call him and Marvin in the middle of the night.
Oh my God.
I would call him and be like,
Oh, what? The
listen,
time.
hey, yo, Coach Hugh, I'm open, and hang up.
So Marvin Lewis, we already know, is officially a part of the Raiders coaching staff. Hugh Jackson is a maybe, and if that's the case, then Chad Johnson will likely join this coaching staff. Even though he was making a series of posts late at night, there are way too many connections here for it not to be a real possibility. A new hiring that officially happened is that the Raiders are hiring former Jags defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell as the run game coordinator and linebacker coach. So this man is going to be joining Patrick Graham's defense, and this makes sense that the Raiders needed a linebacker coach after Antonio Pierce was promoted to the full-time head coaching position after being the linebacker coach the past 2 seasons. The press has talked a lot about Antonio Pierce's lack thereof NFL coaching experience, and he's talked about this recently while being interviewed on the Rich Eisen show. This seems like something he's defensive about, and he wants to prove people wrong.
If I went down the road to Long Beach Poly in 2017 and told the head coach, "You're going to be the coach of the Raiders in 7 years," what would he have said to me?
You're probably right. I mean, you got to start somewhere. So to me, that's not far-fetched. It might be to other people, but if you know my life and you've been around me, I don't think you're surprised. Maybe from the outside, oh my God, it's a linebacker coach. You don't know what the hell he's doing. Just keep watching.
So this seems like something he's sensitive about. He wants to prove people wrong. And it seems like he knows he's going to have to do this immediately or else the noise will still be there, which is why it makes sense that Antonio Pierce and the Raiders were originally swinging for the biggest offensive coordinator available on the market, Cliff Cliff Kingsbury. New reports have been released, and they have each claimed different reasons as to why Cliff Kingsbury pulled out of the Raiders' job at the last minute.
To look at the flip that happened when he was with the Raiders, my understanding is Magic Johnson, who is a limited partner with the Commanders, was actually the one to step in and kind of pull Cliff Kingsbury back and go, you know what, if this deal with the Raiders isn't perfect, maybe there's a home for you in Washington.
And another reason offered by Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated is with regards to the contract, saying that the Raiders would not be willing to go to a third year. Las Vegas' unwillingness to go to a third year opened the door for Cliff Kingsbury to talk to other teams like the Washington Commanders. If the Raiders really wanted Cliff Kingsbury to definitely be their offensive coordinator, it's kind of odd that they were not willing to go to a third year. We still don't know the contract length of Antonio Pierce or the new general manager, Tom Telesco of the Las Vegas Raiders, but the contract length has been released for new head coaches in the 2024 offseason head coaching cycle, like David Canales, the former Bucs offensive coordinator, now Panthers head coach. The details of his contract have been released. He has a 6-year deal with the Panthers. You also have Raheem Morris, the new Falcons head coach. His details have been released, a 5-year contract with Atlanta. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh's contract has been released, $16 million per year, big fat contract that's advertised everywhere, but we do not know the length of Antonio Pierce's contract with the Las Vegas Raiders. And so the fact that the Raiders were not willing to go to 3 years with Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator, even though he's their #1 target, it would not be unreasonable to assume that perhaps Antonio Pierce is not dealing with the 3-year contract himself, and maybe Antonio Pierce has a 2-year contract, a window with Mark Davis to make something happen, or Davis will look elsewhere. Pierce was asked about Cliff Kingsbury, but he didn't say much. He says he does not talk about guys that's not Raiders, that are not on the Raiders. Obviously, this makes sense. He's not obligated to speak about the guy, and anything he could say would just be bad press. But Pierce did respond to questions about his new offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, the former Bears offensive coordinator, saying that he whooped our ass when we played them. Who was their QB? I don't know. Who was their running back? I don't know, but they still beat us pretty good. I understand he wants to be positive about his guys, but he is talking about the Bears versus the Raiders when Josh McDaniels was still the head coach, and the Raiders went with Brian Hoyer at quarterback because there was an injury to Jimmy Garoppolo. However, Luke Getsy did do well using Tyson Bagent as quarterback in that game, but this was a moment when the Raiders were demoralized, and there have been complaints about Luke Getsy coming from players, coming from the former quarterback Justin Fields. We know in the beginning of the season in 2023, he talked about feeling robotic, and he talked about coaching limiting his play.
What do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be coaching, I think. But, at the end of the day, it makes it, they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at.
This led to Justin Fields having to hug it out with Luke Getsy in practice to the cameras because everybody was saying Justin Fields was calling out Luke Getsy here. Either way, the Raiders are taking the gamble that Luke Getsy was not the problem in Chicago, and the Raiders are likely going to pursue a mobile quarterback. You have some rumors and reports coming out saying that Antonio Pierce is a big fan of Jaden Daniels, which makes sense. They have a personal relationship going all the way back to Arizona State. If you want to learn more about this, check out our full video on this Antonio Pierce history. Not only is Luke Getsy's experience with Justin Fields a key reason why the Raiders may be pursuing a mobile quarterback, but also the fact that they worked out one during the regular season in 2023. The Raiders worked out former Ravens quarterback Anthony Brown around December 19th. They had a tryout and visit with the quarterback. They did not officially sign him, but it did show they were looking for that style of quarterback to work out, and perhaps that's why Antonio Pierce was considering only Cliff Kingsbury and Luke Getsy, different coordinators who know how to work with mobile quarterbacks. Pierce was asked about the quarterback situation, asked about Aiden O'Connell on the Rich Eisen show as well, and I think his comments say a lot about O'Connell's job security and what the Raiders plan to do.
Aiden O'Connell put himself in a position that whoever we bring in, he should battle. we'll continue to grow our offense. And I'm sure, as you know, we're bringing a quarterback in some capacity, and we're going to let those guys battle. But I'll tell you one thing about Aiden. He's a competitor. He's smart. I don't think he's going to go down without a fight, and we'll let the best man win.
So it's official. The Raiders are going to bring in some competition at quarterback to compete against Aiden O'Connell. It's funny that he didn't mention Jimmy Garoppolo at all when talking about the quarterback, so maybe that guy's out of the picture. But if the Raiders bring in somebody like Jaden Daniels and they draft him in the first round, obviously Aiden O'Connell is going to be at a huge disadvantage. They're going to want to start the first round pick over anybody else. But one thing does seem clear. Even though Aiden O'Connell had a great preseason and flashed in certain moments during the regular season, the Raiders ultimately want to upgrade at quarterback, and it seems like they're going to do whatever they can to make it happen this offseason. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more NFL content from me, Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.